I do believe that the military will handle Bergdahl properly, okay, for whatever he did or didn't do. It still doesn't justify 5 of the most notorious people we've had for 10 years. If they were that important for us to keep them that long, then don't you believe that all of a sudden all 5 were okay to be released? Does that not bring a question? It does in my mind.
Bergdahl, spies, Cantor, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Extra bonus points if you know what movie that's from. All part of our Inside the Beltway segment of the program today, leading off with the latest article from the Washington Examiner, where White House correspondent Susan Crabtree dishes on D.C. every day, and she's going to do it for us right now. Welcome to Midpoint, Susan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. Let's go ahead and get, by the way, there's a new article that you had just, we'll get to Bo Bergdahl here in a moment, but I want to get to what you had today in the Washington Examiner. The White House adopting a new review process after their outing of one of their main spies in Afghanistan. Took them a while, but it seems like they finally got to it, right?
Yeah, it was really odd, though, that the timing of the release, they had a readout yesterday at about 6:30 with reporters traveling with the president to Massachusetts. So right when the president was doing a fundraiser and there was all this controversy about Eric Cantor losing his primary, a busy news day, that's when they chose to release their new review process so that they can avoid having any kind of a leak of a CIA agent happen again.
I thought the interesting point in the article that you brought forth is that a lot of people haven't talked about yet. It says that it doesn't say whether or not the station chief has been pulled from his mission in Afghanistan after his cover was blown. The CIA just says the situation has been addressed. Is there anybody who has anything further on this? I mean, situation's been addressed, that's nice, but I can't imagine how a spy who's been outed is still in the country.
Right. I mean, that's the usual CIA speak. And the White House wasn't answering a couple very important questions yesterday on this. It was because of the timing, probably, they had the advantage of not being forced to answer the question in say, like a briefing when you can do follow-ups. But they didn't answer the question about what happened to the CIA spy. They didn't answer who was responsible for the actual leak, because as you probably recall from when the story originally broke in late May, when Obama was in Afghanistan, he slipped into the country for that surprise visit. This happened before a briefing that he was about to give to military officials, and that included the CIA chief, and it got leaked to the press, not leaked, but it was handed over in a pull report, and a magistrate, basically a listing of all of the people who were going to attend that briefing with the president. The CIA spy's name was included. Now, they say it was a terrible and inadvertent mistake, and they acknowledge that. But there was some talk, and there were a lot of reports right when that first happened that they're sort of pointing the finger at the military, that a military aide provided the name to the White House, and the White House sent it over, but to the press. So we don't know if it's a White House press aide that was responsible or whether it was the military who handed over the list.
Remember, Susan, it always goes like this always goes like a shh around the shh. No, don't tell. They don't want anybody to know. Chuck Hagel, of course, now appearing in his testimony, talking about Bo Bergdahl, the prisoner swap. What's a scuttlebutt around Washington, D.C. in relation to Hagel and what he said about the swap? And I think one of the things he said was interesting. We've seen no evidence that directly links any American combat death to the rescue or finding or search for Bergdahl. We've heard differently all along.
Right. That really stood out to me as a big piece of the news out of that hearing. He started the hearing by apologizing for the breach of trust for failing to notify Congress in the 30-day requirement. But then he said it seems like he wiggled around in this hearing a lot. He used a lot of legalese as well. He said that he takes his responsibility to in coming up with the deal and agreeing to the deal and signing off on it. He takes it damn seriously, and he repeated it damn seriously. And then later on, he was saying he's very sorry for the breach of trust, but at the very end of the hearing, he said they might do it again if they were faced with another extraordinary circumstance, meaning they might release another detainee without talking to Congress. So I thought there was another low light. Another
That's
issue
okay. I
was
like the low light is good. You're right.
confrontation. Another low light out of the hearing. Another confrontation was over whether the administration was negotiating with terrorists, and he basically said that they're not negotiating with terrorists because the Qatari government was the intermediary. So Mike Turner,
that comes out of nowhere.
Republican congressman. What?
That comes out of nowhere. Seems like you're negotiating with somebody. It's kind of interesting.
Well, okay, that was Mike Turner's question. Basically, we are
Yes.
one step away from, you're not directly negotiating with terrorists
Exactly.
now.
Exactly.
But Buck McKeon, who's the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, as you know, he said that, well, that's just like saying that if you're a sports figure and your agent is negotiating with a sports team, that the athlete is not negotiating with the sports team just because there's an intermediary. So I just, that was a kind of an interesting clash as well.
I like that analogy. About a minute left here. Another one of your articles, President Obama dismissing the conclusion that immigration reform is dead after Eric Cantor's stunning primary defeat. Funny, there's a lot of people I talked to, they said it was 99.5% dead before it happened. Now it's 100% dead, so we're really dealing in absolutes here.
Not even on life support. He used this. He was at this fundraiser in Massachusetts last night to benefit the Senate Democrats, and he used the fundraiser to basically press on immigration reform, and to say, I just fundamentally reject any notion that this is dead. Politics shouldn't play a part in this. And he was sort of lecturing the Republicans, but of course he was playing politics as he was saying that, because he knows that this is a very great issue for the Democrats and really drives up. They have a lot of Hispanic voters on their side, and it drives up the vote and ahead of the midterm elections. And so the context of this was really saying, "Oh, Eric, people don't know what they're talking about in Washington. This shouldn't matter." But of course, politics always matters to both sides, especially when you have such a critical issue and a lightning sort of raw issue as immigration right now.
Remember this, Susan, the truth never got in the way of a good fundraiser. It always works that way, and you can please use that sometime. It's my gift to you for today. Susan,
Excellent.
There you go. Why not? Susan, thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch your news in the Washington Examiner, and we will talk to you again soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Take care. When you're in front of the folks who are giving you money, you'll tell them whatever they want to hear. That's always true. We'll come back. We'll talk about a little social media and a whole lot more when we continue right here on Midpoint.